At the celebration of our 25th anniversary, Sam's widow, Kathleen, wrote us a little note. I just want to read the first two paragraphs from Kathleen Day. How does one really celebrate 25, in this case 30 years of planning, hard work, triumphs, and low spots? Nukewatch has done what has not been easy, and oftentimes not appreciated. Telling reasoned facts to unheeding ears, but persevering. That's what gives you success, always was Sam's credo. Sam would indeed be proud of all of you and keen about the longevity of this special anti-nuclear, anti-war campaign. Well, I too want to echo what Felice said, and thank you all for being here. It is a great privilege to speak to a group such as this, my peers in this long campaign, struggling against what we all know to be nuclear madness. We all come to this gathering with a rather grim analysis of what the government is doing with radioactive waste. We know it's shooting radioactive waste at people all over the world. And it's unconscionable. That's why we're here. We are going to put an end to it. Most recently with the use of depleted uranium armor-piercing shells, what the Germans like to call the Trojan horses of nuclear war. The government is spreading radiation, perhaps in another human radiation experiment to see what we will put up with. Well, Nukewatch has been reporting these grim, rather sobering facts now for 30 years. We publish our quarterly from our farm in rural Wisconsin, where we have the privilege of living in the countryside, surrounded by beauty, but sitting at the computer screen reading of all these horrors. And so people often say, man, how can you focus on that newsletter? It's so hard to get through. And we were convinced then to put page 7 into good news. You may have seen that page 7 is always now the bright side. Good news about solar power and the alternative way of living that we can aspire to. So if you don't get the quarterly, please sign up to get it in the mail on the sign-up sheet in the back, and send us a contribution every year to help keep us going. We don't want to focus anymore tonight on these grim realities. We have 5 true stories that we want to share with you tonight that are, I hope, rather comical.
Okay, the first one revolves around resistance to Project ELF. One day, I was doing resistance at Project ELF and sitting at the fence and decided to not cooperate with the police. But there were a lot of other people doing activities as well. And the police, in their zeal to remove me from the gate, started dragging me across the tarmac and were distracted by something else happening, so they stopped. And my sister, Linda Urfer, was there with me, and we both were saying, wow, it smells, something's burning. And it took a little while to realize that I had a pack of matches in my pocket, and these matches fired up. Okay, enough.
There have been so many arrests at Project ELF, quite a few of these stories related to that. This one as well. We were having one of our semi-annual Martin Luther King holiday demonstrations there, so it's the dead of winter in northern Wisconsin, a very cold place, and some of us had spent the night at homestays around town, and then the next morning we were getting back together for nonviolence training. And my former partner and I, Barb Cat, were driving in our small car from where we'd stayed to the meeting place on this cold Sunday morning. And, well, as it turns out, in Wisconsin, if you refuse to pay these protest fines, they would withdraw your driving privileges until you paid. That was a good way for the state to get those fines paid, but we continually refused. Consequently, had to drive without licenses for many years. We became very good drivers. I'd say some people became good drivers. Some are always bad drivers. In any case, Barb and I were driving along, and police officer pulls right up beside us. And we both have active warrants in Wisconsin, and we're both driving without a license. So right away we know we're going to jail right now. Do you have some money? Do you have the keys? We're making plans. And the cop is doing this. So we're pulling over and we're rolling down the window, and he pulls over, he rolls down his passenger window, and we're trying to calm down. And the police officer says, "You've got a coffee cup on top of your car."
As some of you know, not as many women go to jail as men. So sometimes in small county jails, women staying is a very isolating experience. So we had done resistance action at one of the proposed Gwen projects, and they were actually starting to build another ground wave emergency network tower in Wisconsin. So a bunch of us went out to pull up their survey stakes and delay the process a little bit. And we went to jail and received 45-day sentences. I had been in the jail by myself for almost all of that time, and I was really hoping that some woman would get arrested somewhere so I would have some company and somebody to talk to. So one day, when the sentence is almost over, finally, they bring a woman in. I said, "Oh great, finally, some company, somebody to talk to." And this woman came in and she sat down at the table and she looked at me and she said, "Do you like Ford or Chevys?"
A couple of times, the court in Ashland would allow us to appear telephonically and not have to drive all the way to Ashland, 2.5 hours from where we were, if it was a simple court appearance like an arraignment, for example, or maybe just a pretrial hearing. And this was a simple pretrial thing, and the judge agreed I could do it over the phone. So I'm in my kitchen this morning, that particular morning, and is there a banana? It doesn't matter. In any case, this will work. And so I had to make some sort of a statement that involved being sworn in. So the clerk, oh fine. The clerk says, "Well, I'm going to have to swear you in, Mr. LaForge, so please raise your right hand." So, I just, how we're used to following orders from authorities. I just went like this, and I'm in my kitchen. And for a minute I thought, they can't see me at all.
Okay. And another time in the Nukewatch office, as Jack and Felice do the prison support, we would also send letters and postcards. And at events like this, and just to remind you, there are papers back there, write messages to the persons in the prison. Well, we had done this at a gathering, and we had these huge sheets of paper that people had sent messages to the prisoner. And I'm sorry to say I don't remember who it was going to, but somebody in a federal prison. And so we folded up this huge sheet of paper with all these messages and sent it off. And a few days later, we got it back from the prison saying that prisoners were not allowed to receive multi-signed messages. And so Sam and I thought about it, and well, we cut up all those messages and put them in the envelope and sent it off to the prisoner again. A few days later, we got these pieces of paper back with a message from the prison that said, "Puzzles are not allowed."